Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel if you're returning, and welcome if you're new. Lovely to have you on here. My name is Onesel Bebo and I share content about education, career and personal development, as well as living abroad or living in diaspora. In this video I will be sharing my reaction to my UCL LLM result. That's my Masters of Law result from UCL, which is University College London. I will be sharing this video, so you're going to see me in a different outfit because I am sharing like my reaction video, my live reaction video, and I've just made this extra video a couple of months later to sort of reflect on that result. I think that my reaction video does not fully capture the reaction that I had or the reaction, like me processing the results after that time. So that's why I've made this little addition a couple of months later when I've been able to process it, reflect on it, and see my feedback as well. And I'm doing this video in case you're wondering, just to show transparency, with like studying a master's. I shared bits about my master's degree from applying to, I did a YouTube video, you should watch that one, of my 72-hour exam, the process of writing that exam, and just I sort of like recorded, or will I say not recorded, that's not the word. I sort of I made memories of my master's year, which was a very trying year during a master's in a pandemic, like I mentioned. But I made memories to capture that moment, to capture the experience, and doing this is also part of the process of being transparent and reflecting on that entire process. So what's going to happen now, before I come back to talk through my experience of processing my results, I'm going to play the live reaction for you, which doesn't really capture how I felt about the results. But you watch that, and then I come back in the end to talk through, my result, dealing with it. So yeah, let's watch the live reaction together. Well, today was seeing the result. I wrote on a paper what I was like hoping for, like worst case, best case scenario, and best case scenario is of course a distinction, an outstanding distinction. Worst case scenario is a 2-1 by God's grace, and it can't be worse than that. And I calculated like the possible outcomes of which I could get in each module to like get a distinction or a really high 2-1. But I'm not with that paper because I'm not at home. I don't even know where I kept that paper. But yeah, we're going to see what the result is. And so the result has come out for like all the modules I took this year, as well as my research essay, which I completed in July as well, and then the degree classification. Whew, I don't know if you can tell I'm nervous, but yeah, let's see it, and then I'll show you of course on the screen. Ooh. While I was very, very grateful that I got a really high merit, because I didn't think, that year was so hard, I was just praying I was going to pass. On the other hand, like I mentioned, I was kind of bummed that I didn't get a distinction. And yeah, so we're going to talk through that. So well, at first, after I had shown that video, I thought, okay, I went to calculate my average. I thought my average was 65, which in the UK is a merit, which is just an average level merit, like you do not really high, not low, just in the middle, a mid merit. And I thought, okay, not bad. I really just wanted to get a merit this year, but on the higher end, I was expecting a distinction. So I thought, not bad. But then again, I calculated my average and I saw that I missed a distinction by 2 marks. And that 2 marks that I missed my distinction by was not just like, oh, 2 marks when I calculate my average, but 2 marks on a particular module, which was my research essay. So if I had gotten a 70 on my research essay, that would have qualified me for a distinction. So I think, as you would see on the description or in this video, 70 is a first. And that might look like, oh, it's a small mark, but it's really, really hard to get in this country, especially if you're doing law, and especially if you're doing law at a master's level. So I got a 68 on my research essay, and we do step marking in law. After 68, the next grade would have been a 70. And I felt like kind of bummed by that. So when I thought my average was a 65 for the year, which was a merit, a mid-merit, I was fine because it wasn't too close to a distinction. But when I had calculated and I saw that I missed a distinction by 2 marks on my research essay, so after a 60, 80, 70, then it hit me that I was this close but not close enough. And I broke down in tears. And I remember crying myself to sleep, not once, not twice. And I thank God for like my lovely friends who were there to comfort me. Particular shout out to Eunice, who didn't downplay it, who took it as seriously as it was to me. I had a couple of friends dismiss it, but to me it was painful because I was so close, one, and this was something that I had worked actively throughout the whole year of my master's towards. I had put it up on my wall in my room. This was what I was going for. I had prayed about it so much. I had worked so hard to the point of burnout, which I shouldn't have. So it was like, wow, I had built this castle, this expectation. And of course, that there was a part of me that knew this might not be reality, given how active I had been in the year in my extracurricular activities, which took off really well. Like, it created plenty of opportunities for me. So I knew that a distinction might be a trade-off, but at the same time, I was willing to work hard. I pushed myself beyond limits I shouldn't have, which I've talked about in a different video, overcoming anxiety, how I dealt with that. But I pushed myself and I was hoping, oh, all of this will pan out towards a distinction. At the same time, I was really happy to get a high merit because I knew that I had, like, it was a challenge that year. But then a part of me, like I said, wanted a distinction. But at the same time, I could not disregard my hard work that led me there. So while I didn't get the grades of my dreams, I got a really good grade. Like, I was so close to a distinction, like a really high merit. And for what I went through that year, I think that was an achievement that I did not want to downplay. So, someone said something to me when I met up with a couple of my classmates. It's like, the important thing is that you put in the work. It's not that you didn't put in the work and you didn't see results. It's that you put in the work and that's what matters. And I had to come to a place where I could acknowledge that I put in the work to get here. By putting in the work, I mean not just studying the hours, but knowing that when I was stressed and tired, learning to take breaks. It took me a while, but I learned that, when I was writing my research essay that I really wanted a distinction on, it got to a point that I was so anxious that my work wasn't enough to get me that distinction. I was struggling to finish my work, but I pushed through. I prayed about it. I received encouragement from my community. I got support and I pushed through. So one way that I dealt with not getting a distinction and being so close was recognizing I put in the work, and that it's not that I was lazy, and so I appreciate that. It made me also realize that this is something that I've had to learn over the years, that I cannot base my worth as a person or what I contribute or my value solely on the grade that I get, because grades can be subjective. While I always want to strive for excellence, I don't want to base like my value. So if I don't get a distinction, that doesn't mean that I'm worthless, or like, and that might seem extreme, but people get to that level, especially when you're always reaffirmed, you're always praised and encouraged and supported for getting really good grades. But when you don't get as grades that are as good, you feel like you don't get that level of support or encouragement or reinforcement of positive like feelings from your community. So you may feel like, oh, I need to get this grade to feel valuable. I think this reminded me that my value as a human being is not attached primarily or solely on my grades. Maybe in an academic or professional setting, it may carry some weight, but it shouldn't be the be all and end all for me. And that's one thing I learned. Another thing I learned is that the things that I stressed the most about and I was anxious about, the things that I didn't take breaks for, the things that wore me out, they didn't get me the highest grades. So, for instance, in my international arbitration, after I had done like my legal aspect exam, the exam that I got a distinction on, the one I did my 72-hour exam video on, after I did that, I was really tired and it was time for arbitration, and I noticed that I was too tired to do the arbitration. So we had the arbitration exam for 48 hours. That's 2 days. I only did my exam for 24 hours, and I know that wasn't my best work. I squeezed in a lot in those 24 hours, but I did that because I was exhausted. Now, the 2 modules that I did from a place of stress, that I was more stressed about, I didn't get my best grades on those modules. So if I had rested and I timed myself better, I would have done better on those modules. So I learned that exhaustion, or poor time management caused by exhaustion, it really doesn't help. Like, stress doesn't help your productivity. That's one thing that I learned as well from that result and grade. And I'm going to do a separate video on dealing with disappointing grades because I've had my fair share. And of course, I'd just like to caveat by saying what's disappointing to you will not be disappointing to the next person. But I've had my fair share of disappointing grades, and I'm going to do a video on how to deal with that. And I think another thing that helped is just talking to God and praying and asking God, like, why did it happen to me? I was so close, this could have been a distinction. So why not? And understanding the reasons why. It may not make sense, to a lot of people, but that was important for me because it's something that I prayed and I trusted God and I believed God for, and I knew that He could have done it. If I had gotten a 68 or a 68 point, very close to a first, then I could have gotten a first. Why not? But yeah, so for me, praying and seeking answers really helped me come to terms with like the results I got. And also, I just want to say, like I've said before, I was not 100% disappointed because, like I said, I really wanted a merit at least because it was such a hard year. But seeing how close I was to a distinction was where like my disappointment kicked in. But yeah, so it was not one or the other of the two feelings. Like I felt both. I felt like relief, and at the same time, I felt disbelief that it was a distinction. And yeah, so I'm just going to look through like a couple of the feedback I received, because I waited to do this video till I processed it until I received feedback to see like, okay, what I could have improved on. And I'm just going to look at like the feedback for some here on this video. So for my research essay, which I put in my sweat and my blood into, here's what the two markers had to say that gave me 68 both. So the first marker said, well researched, well structured, and largely well written essay on a very topical subject matter. Good use of variety of sources, including some highly contemporary ones, as well as the student's own analysis. And this was something that was causing me anxiety at the time I was writing my research essay, including my own analysis, because I thought, like, who am I to add my voice to this very topical issue? But I did, and that was well acknowledged, which is something I'm proud of. Some aspects could have been covered in more depth, and therefore this essay falls a bit short of a distinction, high merit. And I just wondered what aspects could have been covered in more depth, because I tried to, within the word limit I had, put as much, go down to the teeny bitty details of the thing. I mean, I remember analyzing clauses in a contract word for word and how it mattered to the topic I wrote. But I guess my researcher, the person who marked my essay, thought that there could be more I could have done, which is fair. Then the second marker gave the same mark, which is a 68, and said, I agree with the first marker, an important topic with considerable practical implications, clear structure and engagement with relevant materials, including recent secondary materials, accurate referencing, a high good merit. So you may read this feedback and think, okay, really good, okay, you've said these really great things about me, so what was he missing that didn't get to a distinction? I guess, like I was joking with my friend, he was missing the oomph, the extra bit needed. And that's okay, I've come to terms with that it was a really good essay, they recognized this, but something was missing, some depth of analysis was missing that would have taken this to the next step, which is a 70, which would have given me distinction on my LLM. So yeah, I came to terms with that, and I'm very like proud of the work that I produced. I'm proud of myself for going ahead, even when I was so anxious, like going through. I remember that I was writing my research essay and I didn't think that I could finish. I just thought like I was so anxious, I was having physical symptoms. I didn't think I could continue. And I just remember my dad saying, like, if you need to stop here, stop here. Like, you won't feel, just, I mean, your health and your mind is more important. But I pushed through, and I thank God for that. I thank God for the grace to carry on and to complete this, to see this to the end. And so yeah, I'm proud that I finished. And the mark wasn't too bad, to be fair. Wasn't bad at all. So yeah, basically that is all about this video. So I've run through my grades and I've run through the feedback, and I've given one or two tips here and there for like a master's in law. It was a lot of hard work, but that's it, guys. I really hope that this video, you found it useful, especially if you're studying law at master's level here in the UK. I hope you appreciate the transparency in sharing my grades, my disappointments, and my relief as well. And please do encourage me by liking this video, leaving a comment. Please share this video with your friends who you think might find this helpful, just to get an insight into how essays are marked here and into the grading system. And please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. More awesome content is coming your way. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next. Bye.